What happens when black declines our Danish Gambit? As we will see, your opponents will have a hard time staying in the game if they are not aware of the tricks and traps I'm about to show you. Black can try to protect his e5 pawn in various ways. First, f6 is a move we are very happy to see. We will take on e5, and when black takes back, queen h5 check almost wins. If he moves his king, after this tactical sequence, he will lose his queen or get mated like this. Very nice. If he blocks with g6, queen takes e5 will pick the rook. How else can black defend his central pawn? After d6, a simple solution is to take and exchange queens with a slightly better endgame due to black's uncastled king. Knight c6 defends e5 and simultaneously develops a piece. We gain central space with d5, attacking the knight. If your opponent carelessly moves to d4, you win his knight with c3. You can check, but the knight has no square to go to. Knight back to e7 is more reasonable, but we have a better game anyway, thanks to our space advantage in the center. Another way for black to decline our gambit is to counterattack. That's why some players will not defend, but challenge your central pawn with knight f6. We take on e5, and when black advances to e4, we seize the edge with bishop c4. We've got some threats like queen d5, attacking the knight, and the f7 square, or our favorite bishop f7 trick followed by queen d5. If you are not familiar with this, go rewatch part 1. Black's best option according to theory is to play in this position queen e7, but more on that at the end of the video. d5 is another attacking attempt by black, creating chaos in the center. We take on e5, and after black takes on e4, we simply trade queens, with a better game again due to the uncastled king on d8. Yet another try for black arises after e takes d4, c3 and d5, striking at the e4 pawn. We take on d5, and black recaptures. We capture on d4 with the pawn. A possible line is knight c6, attacking our isolated d pawn. We defend with knight f3, and black can pin our d4 defender with bishop g4. Black must be careful here. If he takes the knight and grabs the d4 pawn with his queen, we end the game with bishop takes c6 check, eliminating the defender of black's queen and winning it on the next turn. It's better for black to develop with bishop b4 check. We block with knight c3, and the game might go like this, and we finally get to a balanced endgame in which both sides have their weaknesses to deal with. Some players take on d4 and c3, but instead of taking on b2, play bishop b4, threatening c2 check, winning our queen. We must take the pawn. Black now can choose where to retreat his bishop, or can play queen f6, the best move, pinning the c3 pawn to the rook. We will check queen f6 later. Let's examine the bishop retreats first. Bishop c5 falls into our preferred trick with bishop takes f7 and queen d5, gaining back the bishop and leaving black's king in the center. After bishop e7, the game is practically over. We threaten to mate with queen d5. The only way to defend it is to play knight h6, but we eliminate that defender. After castles and bishop back, we are up a piece. We also gain a piece after bishop a5. After this forced sequence, we are down a pawn, but we are winning because of black's lack of development. In this position, queen f6 is black's best choice. We take the bishop, leaving our rook and priest in the corner. Black grabs it, and we defend the knight with queen b3, also attacking f7. Black must watch out for bishop b2 on the next turn, which would trap his queen. Because of that, he should repatriate his queen to f6, and after knight f3, we can contemplate our big lead in development. We will even gain a future tempo on black's queen by bishop g5 or bishop b2. All these factors gives us enough compensation for being an exchange and a pawn down. We arrive at black's best option according to the engine. The move is queen e7. But seriously, how many of your opponents would actually play this move? It seems very unlikely to happen. Very important, we take on d4 with the pawn. Don't take with the queen, allowing black to gain a tempo with knight c6. We answer queen takes e4 with bishop e3. The game might follow this path and we have an equal and complex game in front of us. This is the very best black can do against the whole Danish Gambit. We will examine this variation in depth in a future video. As you just saw, the Danish Gambit is a very playable opening and the margin of error for black in most of the lines is quite small. I wish you many victories with this gambit, and stay tuned for more opening videos.